Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peanut Butter Neya time. Thanks for joining me today. All right. So, today I want to talk about how society treats people based on their appearance. And I just find it such an interesting topic. And I often think back to this and I want to kind of break it down using my own experiences just to really understand why and what we do in society and how interesting that is. I think overall it's a really unhealthy trend that we are enabling in terms of society treating certain people by appearance and our view on people and expectation. But before I get there, I want to talk about something funny for a second. So the other day, a few weeks ago, I was in Malaysia. And I was visiting Alex in Malaysia. So I was taking a flight from KL, Kuala Lumpur, back to Hong Kong. And if you guys know, Hong Kong used to have really strict quarantine and like border entry rules. So if you wanted to enter into Hong Kong, you used to have to do a PCR test like 24 hours before you entered, and then when you like checked in, they would check this test. Anyway, so they removed this, I think in like December or November last year, I think, or December. And so it was gone, and you don't have to you don't have to do test anymore. But as you guys know, or you may have seen in the news, China opened their borders, and that opened up like no quarantine into Hong Kong, and then also Macau and stuff. So then they started putting quarantine and testing rules for all these other countries coming from anywhere from Hong Kong into another country. Anyway, Malaysia didn't have that problem. I didn't even think about it. So then I was taking my flight back from KL to Hong Kong and like went to get checked in, was fine, got to the boarding gate, and then the guy was like, where's your, he called it something else, he called it like a RCT test, and I was like, what's that? He was like, your rat test. He said, no, your PCR test, where is it? I was like, I don't have a PCR test. And I was like, why do you need a PCR test? And he was like, you need a PCR test now you get back into Hong Kong. I was like, since when? He was like, since February. And I was flying on like February 11th, and it was like February 6th. I was like, what? I didn't know this. And so my heart dropped. And he's like, yeah, all these people have their PCR test. And there was all these people on the line with their result. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh no. And like, I was just like, oh God. And I was like, it was like 7 a.m. in the morning. I was like, I'm going to have to like go back. I'm going to miss my flight. This is so inconvenient. So I went onto the website, the Hong Kong government website, to check, like, do I need a PCR test? And it says you can do a rat test too. So I went back to the guy and I was like, okay, can I do a rat test? And like, I was just thinking I'll just do it somewhere inside of the airport and then like head back. Then he was like, I got there and I was like, oh, so can I do a rat test? And he was like, it's okay, I'll approve it for you. Just go. And I was like so confused because he literally 3 minutes before was like denying me entering this plane. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I was like, okay, I'm just going to go with it. And so I just went onto the plane. I was like, oh my God, like he's an angel. And I was also thought for a solid like minute that he was trolling me. But anyway, I got into the plane and I checked on the plane the rules, and I was like, fuck yeah, you really do need this test. So yeah, I was kind of shitting myself, but I was like, it's fine, I'm on the flight, didn't miss it. So then I arrive in Hong Kong, and of course, lo and behold, they did not even check my test because it's inconsistent. We love it. Anyway, so yeah, I got there and no one checked my test. I was like, oh my God, thank goodness this guy just let me on the plane, because had I like missed this flight for not having this test, and then when I get to Hong Kong I don't even check the test, I would have been slivered. I would have been livid. So yeah, make sure you guys still double check all your like entry requirements to get into a country. I had just completely like removed that from my mind as a concern because I thought we progressed, but no, we are still progressing. Anyway, back to the topic of the day. So the reason I bring up this topic is because I often think back to times when I blossomed and I kind of became, objectively speaking, attractive. And really just thinking about how people treated me. And I always think back to this and I want to talk through it because I think it was such an interesting time for me to really understand society and be like, oh, people kind of suck and people are kind of superficial. And so, yeah, I think that this experiences always make me think back to human nature and how we're evolving and how we feed energy into other people. And it makes me want to speak about how we can actively do things to improve that environment, that mentality, and how we enable each other. Because I think nowadays people are really compensating for not being objectively attractive. I'm doing finger quotes in my video, but for people on the podcast, objectively attractive, by having to have a great personality and all these like random ass things, right? But I think people, it's only getting worse in society through like social media, entertainment. They've all formed this very distinct view on beauty and our expectations of people who look a certain way. And I want to break this down and I want to be very real about it because I think it is a really unhealthy place that society kind of exists in. And I want to at least try in my ability to push out a more positive view and break it down. So I am quite tall. I'm 5'10", which is like 177 centimeters. So I always just stand out. Like I can't, I would love to wear high heels a lot more. And sometimes I wish I was, I don't actively wish that much, but like sometimes like, it would be nice to be like 5'7" and be able to wear heels and not stand out like a sore thumb. Because even at 5'10", especially living in Asia, I am very tall, which adds to people staring at me even more than they already would, because I look also very ethnically ambiguous and people always staring at me like, where are you from? Like, who are you? What are you? So I think I have lived a life, especially since I was like 19, of people making a lot of assumptions about me like ethnically, how I look, what my heritage is, what my appearance speaks for like how I am socially, how I am like sexually, how I am at sport. Like I feel like it kind of feeds into every avenue of my life. And I just think it's so interesting that this is all just because of how I look. And not discounting the fact that looks, like sight, what we see with our eyes is a big part of how we perceive things. But I think we should all be aware of how, like, the path that we are going down and how we can try not to enable such a negative vibe. So for me, common things that people assume about me are that I'm intimidating, I am mean, I am more promiscuous than I am good at certain sports, I'm a certain ethnicity. These are like a multitude of things that people assume about me. And I never really realized this until I was 18 and I was in my gap year. And that's the first time I just really encountered like people making assumptions of me based on my appearance. So as I've mentioned before in a podcast, like I was a late bloomer. I was not a dude magnet in high school. It was probably the furthest thing from a dude magnet, and did not care, just let's be clear. I was very, like, I wouldn't say I was like really awkward, but I was definitely living in my own world such that people didn't really understand me, or like, I mean, I'm probably a bit immature and just a different kind of being, I had no care about what people thought about me. I had no care about body image or how I looked. I wore the cutest little jacket with teddy bears on it because I thought it was cool. I wore Hannah Montana shirt to school on a free dress day because I loved that. I like scooted down the hallway in a Hannah Montana t-shirt. I was so obsessed with Hannah Montana. So yeah, I had no care. And then I also had like zero experiences with boys at all. So didn't really care for it. Wasn't really fazed by it. But we fast forward to 2013. Neya is on her gap year. And I am in a new environment surrounded by a new social group of people. Kind of, I guess, the first time you could carve out who you were and what you wanted to be as an individual. And this was fun. Like, this is exciting to be in London, figuring out who you are as an 18 or as a 17-year-old at that time. and learning a lot about the world and being independent for the first time. So yeah, I was working at a school as a teacher's assistant, and I started to socialize with kids that were kind of similar to my age, and people who were like when we went out to social events and things in the town that we lived in. And I remember people like I started hanging out with a group of people, and then them being like, oh, I remember, what was it? I think there was a guy that I kind of thought was interesting, and apparently it turned out he thought I was interesting as well. And I was like, oh, cool. And then this other guy, I remember from the same social circle, I was talking to him one time, and he was like, oh, are you a virgin? And I was like, that seems a very awfully personal question to ask, but yes. And then I was like, oh, I can't believe you're a virgin. Like, you like insinuated that I would have like had sex by that time because I was attractive. And also I didn't really like, that was the first time like people actually started insinuating that I was attractive. I was like, okay. And I thought it was so bizarre. I remember taking a moment and was like, do people think that if someone's attractive that they're like promiscuous? And I think I remember them thinking like, not saying I was a slut directly, but thinking that I had gotten around is kind of like the terminology they use. And I found that like really offensive and also very bizarre that someone would assume that based off your looks. Like I was very innocent in my view and in my experiences. So I kind of just sat there and thought, what a bizarre thing to ask somebody. What a bizarre thing to assume of somebody just because of how they look. I thought that was really strange. So yeah, that was the first time I encountered people like making assumptions about me and the person I was because of how I looked. And I wasn't comfortable with that. And I always remember that. And I always look back and laugh at that because I just think it's ridiculous. So then I came back from my gap year. I began modeling. I had lost quite a lot of weight. Like I had become objectively, once again, in air quotes, attractive. And this is kind of where people out of the wood, like just came out of the woodwork, like everywhere. I did not really have that many friends, guy friends in high school. I had not that many girlfriends either, or like close girlfriends, like two of my best friends from high school who I didn't go to high school with, but like at that age group, yeah, they had boyfriends and all that, and we were just like hanging out in the same groups, but no boy really ever was like to me in high school, I like you, you're cute. No, there was zero interest. It was unrequited love. Not that I really paid that much attention to boys, but that was the life that I was living. Anyway, so I started going clubbing when I was 19 and back in Melbourne in Australia. That's where I grew up. And I remember starting to go out, and I think I had a newfound confidence. I had lost weight. Like I had gotten signed by a modeling agency, and I started to wear, I remember borrowing one of my friend's dresses one night and going out because I didn't really have like clubbing attire because I wasn't ready. And I remember going out and seeing people that I had knew in high school, like briefly, and they were all suddenly so drawn to talk to me and like know me and want to be in, like add me on Facebook, like add me on Instagram. It was just so strange. And yeah, it was just such a bizarre time. And I was like, And all I thought was, oh, you paid zero attention to me and gave me absolute donuts when I was like not that attractive in high school. And now you want a piece of me. Now you want to talk to me. And so I think that was where I really started to see like a true side of people. And even like not even just people from school. I feel like family members who were distant, who were a similar age group to me, like a specific cousin, which I will not call out, started to actually want to like know me and like talk about me, like, oh, my cousin's a model. And I thought, literally when we were younger, you paid zero attention to me and thought you were way better than me, and like made that very clear by verbal comments you made. And now all of a sudden, like you are like, I don't know, you think I'm cool because I model and like I'm kind of attractive. Like, what is this? What is society? Why are people like this? That's how I felt. And yeah, I think that kind of set me up to realize, okay, maybe this is the expectation moving forward. Like, this is how I'll be treated. And I think from there, it kind of just evolved and it was just a process of me learning how to manage that. People are like, oh, you're so tall. Like, you must be good at sports. You're so athletically built. You must be good at sports. You're tall. You must be modeling. Like, it's just all these assumptions about you. And I think it's so interesting as well. Like, oh, you're tall. Like, and you're relatively attractive can have such a difference as well in a workplace of like, oh, your presence in a social group, oh, your presence in a meeting room, like giving you more confidence, people paying more attention to you. But all these things are just like, they all add up, like, and they're things that I've experienced. And they're all not positive. Like, there's definitely a really big mixture of things. But I think it's like learning to navigate that, especially when you're a teenager, was really interesting and difficult, in a way. But I remember having to like check myself when things happened. I remember there was this guy that I thought was really, I had a big fat crush on him in like high school, and he just gave me donuts, and he definitely knew I liked him. And I remember going to a uni ball and seeing him the second semester of university, and then we went back to second semester of university, and he messaged this guy that's my friend being like, oh, essentially like saying, oh, she's going to be like obsessed with me now. And I was like, oh, wow, man, come on. Like, no. And then I remember my friend giving me a reality check and being like, yo, you're going to let this guy who was like so mean to you in high school, like gave you donuts, made you feel like crap, you're going to give him attention, like let him have a piece of you now, like after all this time. She was like, if she didn't want you then, like he doesn't get you now, just because you're like a model and you've come of age a bit more. And that really woke me up, and I'm really grateful that she did say that, because I was like, yeah, fuck, like check yourself, don't get sucked into this lame ass like magnet of attention, because the thing is, because I never got it when I was younger, I never had attention, I didn't grow up with that. I didn't really understand what to do with it or what was like within my control. I think I was just like kind of overwhelmed and like, oh, this is nice to get attention, but also, is it for the right reasons? And am I doing myself a disservice in this? So I think like one piece of my advice is that you are so much more than like what you are on the outside and what people think of you superficially. And I think if those people if they're not your ride or dies and they weren't there and didn't show up for you when you were like younger and not as cute or in your darker times, then that means that they're just superficial and they don't actually have a genuine interest in you. So don't waste your time with them, is my advice. But that was a thing I had to learn like over and over again from different people, friendships, romantically, in a work setting. It's just things that you needed to like really pay attention to. We are now taking a pause. So my peanut butter tidbit of the week is that, did you know that peanut butter was made for people who had no teeth? So actually peanut butter was officially launched in like 1904 at a fair in America, of course, St. Louis World's Fair. Well, I mean, this is what they're saying in the world, but this, American facts can sometimes be very American focused. But anyway, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, he actually created peanut butter in 1895, but then it was officially launched in 1904, and it was actually for patients who had no teeth and needed protein. So the smart man made peanut butter so people could get protein, which is why I eat a shitload of peanut butter because I love it. And yeah, no teeth, which makes sense as to why it was smooth. But that's why now people with teeth, like myself, eat crunchy peanut butter. Boom. I think Dr. Kellogg would have appreciated that. We're using our teeth to eat crunchy peanut butter if we have teeth. Anyway, going back to our topic. So the next thing I want to talk about is like how social media nowadays really plays into this whole, if you're attractive, like, will treat you differently, and this whole view. And I'm not like negating the fact that I am somewhat part of this. I am on social media. I do post like photos of myself where I do think I look good. I am part of the problem. Like I think we all are, anyone who is on social media. Because not you can't tell me a single person is posting like all bad or all mediocre photos of themselves. Every single person is definitely seeing a photo of themselves and they're like, damn, I look good. Let me post that. Right? So, yeah, I think things like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so YouTube they all play a different part and to a different degree enable this. If you look a certain way, you'll get a certain treatment and audience. I think Instagram is probably the worst for this. Instagram is definitely the highlight reel, as everyone knows. It's definitely a place where people would like build a persona and character of themselves, and an aesthetic. And so I think this sounds really kind of lame, but because I grew up and blossomed at a later age and grew up kind of just no one really cared about me, no one paid attention, I wasn't physically that attractive, blah, 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 all that stuff that I said before. Because of that, I think I have humble, I'm putting air quotes, roots of understanding what is valuable to me. I think I have a great personality. I would like to comment on myself. And I think that I've always valued being really authentic on like a social media platform. And so actually that's why I started YouTube before anything else. Like properly. I think I had Instagram where I would just post photos, but YouTube was where, when I started a YouTube channel, I never thought of like, oh, let me hide my certain things and filter myself or wear certain makeup. I was just very genuine as to who I was. Biggest compliment that I feel I get is like, oh, who you are on camera is actually exactly what I get in person in terms of like personality, appearance, like energy. I just don't understand when people are like a totally different person to what they are in their social media. But anyway, I think it's a form of escapism, but that's okay. So I think I was around and alive when Instagram first launched, and I remember it being the best platform. And I actually miss the days of Instagram being like that, because you would just post whatever. Post a flower in the corner of your room. Post a selfie with terrible lighting and an awesome filter that made you look cool. Like, post autumn leaves, post yourself going to school, post a scarf you bought at a thrift store. It was just very free posting. It wasn't curated. It wasn't an aesthetic. It wasn't you trying to build a persona. It was you just genuinely sharing like photos of yourself. And I think that's how Instagram started off. And like it was same as Snapchat. Like that's how they started. They were very just like platforms to share stuff. And I don't think it at that time was leaning towards becoming like an ads platform where like people were so much the product. But definitely it has evolved into that now, of this kind of very volatile space that you really need to like be fully equipped and fully aware of like who you are on this platform and how it's impacting your real life, because I do think it can be a real dark hole. And I honestly get scared about the younger generation and how much social media is affecting them. Like seeing 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds on social media that look like 30, and like the trends that they do and just how interconnected everything it is. It's like really positive, but also so scary and dark at the same time, that I think the accessibility and like what we put out there is really important. And I think we can sit here and say, oh, hey, it's not us, like it's the platforms, they should manage it, they have the responsibility. And I say like, no, I think we have so much responsibility as users, and as we are the product, air quotes again, of the platform. We are the creators. We have so much responsibility to control as much as we can what we put out there and how we influence like young generations that are on social media, and just also people our age and beyond. Because I think because of social media, we are so interconnected. We are always comparing ourselves to somebody on social media. We are always looking at an aesthetic or new food or new ideas or new creativity. Like it's just so intertwined now that there's not enough separation between our normal outside lives and our online lives. So we hold so much responsibility to try and shape and form and influence the direction of social media. And so, yeah, I just think one thing that I would like to share is I think that we should all be held more accountable for how we show up on social media. I know people use it as business, people use it as a personal platform, but I do encourage everyone to be more genuine. Like I try to not post things with filters at all. If I do a filter, it might be like a cute one with a hamster or something like that. But in terms of my actual look, I try to be just like genuine with this is how I look. This is how I look after I did a workout. I don't look that great. This is how I look when I woke up. My hair's messy. I don't look that great. Today I look tired. Today I look like this. Today I think I look awesome, right? So just giving a genuine mix of everything and who you are. I think that's like a motto I try to stick by for social media, is just trying to be more authentic and myself, because I want to encourage other generations. I want to encourage my audience to just be as they are, be who they are, and like be comfortable with that on social media. And I think there are some creators who do like a lot of work around that and really work really hard to, you know, show themselves with acne, show themselves not feeling great, trying to do like Instagram versus reality. And I think that is really awesome. But at the same time, I think we just have to be consistent with it within our digital life and our offline life. Because I think there are people who definitely like push that, but then are not genuine about the real insecurities they still have. Sorry, I went on a whole spiel there about social media. I feel really passionate about like it and how it influences us, and I will discuss it in a separate podcast. But just, I think us as individuals, if you're listening to this, please be mindful of like how you present yourself on social media, in the sense of being genuine, right? As much as you can. No one, like, I feel we are nowadays too similar. We're not individualistic enough. We're too scared to be outside of the box, to have a different aesthetic, to not edit the photos the same way every single time. All of this jazz, you know? Be more you, be more real. Some things that I find funny that always, I feel like really impact me is that even, and especially now, like more than ever, I think people stare at me so much just because of how I look. And they're so obvious about it. And I think this plays even more a part because I live in Asia, but there's just no relief from that. Every day, I feel it. Like, I'm like, sometimes I think that there's something on me. Like, I've spilt something on my clothes. I've checked multiple times before on the street because I'm like, why is someone staring at me for so long, as if like, and really taking a detailed look, like as if I've spilt something on me or there's something embarrassing happening to me, and I get really concerned. But genuinely, especially in Asia, I feel like they just stare. Like, they are not shy. The old uncles stare real hard. The aunties stare real hard. And it's like a up and down look. It's like a mouth open, eyes wide, down and up. But yeah. And I always thought like, oh, maybe it's just me being a bit conceited. But then my mum has seen it. My mother-in-law has seen it. My fiance's seen it. Like, so many people have called it out and been like, bro, like, come on. They don't even try and be like subtle about it. And yeah, so that's my life. That's a view from somebody who is physically more attractive than so yeah, that's my view as somebody who is deemed attractive. That's what I experience on a daily. It's not fun sometimes, honestly. Sometimes I just want to be like invisible. Because I don't think every person is like built to be okay with being stared at. Like, that's just not a normal thing in life. But yeah. And then the second thing is just like, I'm really tall. And so, yeah, people also stare at me for that reason. And people always think I'm good at sports. Literally, people are like, oh, you're so tall. Do you play basketball? Did you swim? Are you good at this? Do you play tennis? And then they're like, I'm like, oh yeah, I played basketball when I was young. Oh, of course you did. I'm like, okay, but first of all, if you ask my dad, I was really bad at it. So, I don't know. Go figure. Go figure. But I do think that like, it's so strange. There are these like weird advantages to kind of being attractive in society. I think people have a bias to assume things of you. So I just wanted to conclude with, I think everyone should be very aware and conscious of how they are processing and feeding into this societal view of appearances. Honestly, I really don't think it matters that much. I think you are totally empowered to do anything you want, no matter how you look, no matter what your ethnicity is. You, be genuine. I think as long as you can be confident within yourself of like, this is who I am. And I believe in faking it till you make it. Sometimes I really don't feel confident about something, but I honestly take on like a Sasha Fierce and an alter ego where I'm just like, I need to believe it because it's the only way it's gonna get done. So in situations when you do feel uncomfortable, you feel like the minority, you feel judged, just take a deep breath, channel all your Sasha Fierce, and just remember they don't pay your bills. So just do what you want, be who you want to be. So I just wanted to leave this podcast with some takeaways before we end. First of all, appearance is not everything. I think you as a human have so many layers, so much depth in so many different areas of your life. Never be limited by your appearance. As much as society tries to make you think that, defy it. I really hope that from this podcast, you guys can all understand how we feed into this view of appearance and like superficiality in society, and how we can make an active effort to really improve our own personal view of that whole realm and how we can impact that. I think it only takes like little efforts from everybody to make such a big difference. And I only hope to hopefully make you just think about this and feel a little bit more confident to be yourself. I encourage you all and challenge you all to show a bit more of your real self on social media. I even will live into this even more. I think the filter, be who you are, and show that pimple, show that bad hair, show that bloat, show, I don't know, just like being tired. It's fine. Just, I think if you can feel like you can be your authentic self online and offline, that is a really big achievement. And I would also like to finally finish this podcast off with just saying, support individualism. You know, everybody is so different and everybody has a purpose in different ways, values themselves in different ways, enjoys different things, has a different personality and style and look. And that's fine. Like, that's what makes the world go round, us being different and us loving each other for who we are. So don't put people down for being an individual, for being unique, and just support each other. My final parting words are, and I love hearting you all, is to, when you feel nervous, when you feel like you're a minority and you're being judged or you're anxious to do something that's really like true to yourself, channel your Sasha Fierce, channel your alter ego, take that deep breath and just power on, because you know what? You are the ones who are responsible and in control of your life and pay your own bills. So be you. And that power will enable others to feel that confident. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment or DM me your thoughts on this video and let me know how you feel. I'd love to discuss things further and learn more as well. So yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.